Scorpio. What would you do if a knock on the door, a phone call, or a letter with your name on it arrived carrying news that could change everything? Not gossip, not rumor, but something official, stamped, signed, and undeniably real. Would your stomach drop, or would a strange calm rise in you because your spirit already knew something was coming? You didn't land on this video by scrolling lazily or by chance. Your energy was pulled here like metal to a magnet because you can feel it, a pressure building around you, a sense that something legal, something serious, something I can't quite see yet is moving in your direction. This message is not here to scare you. It's here to prepare you, to anchor you, and to remind you that you are not a powerless character in someone else's courtroom. You are a soul standing under a higher law, a deeper justice, and the twist that's coming may not be what your fear imagines. It may be what your spirit has been silently asking for. Lately, you might have noticed the atmosphere around you feels slightly off. Maybe you felt watched, evaluated, or weighed, not just emotionally, but practically. Perhaps certain people are acting more cautious, more distant, or suddenly overly nice. Maybe you keep thinking of old contracts, debts, agreements, or situations that never felt fully resolved. You may find your thoughts drifting toward things like taxes, shared resources, property, or that one situation where the truth never quite made it to the surface. Scorpio, that isn't random overthinking. That is your inner radar tuning into movements you can't yet see. Your sign is ruled by Pluto, planet of truth below the surface, and Mars, the force that acts when the time is right. You may find your thoughts drifting toward things like taxes, shared resources, property, or that one situation where the truth never quite made it to the surface. Scorpio, that isn't random overthinking. That is your inner radar tuning into movements you can't yet see. Your sign is ruled by Pluto, planet of truth below the surface, and Mars, the force that acts when the time is right. When shocking legal energy begins to build around you, you feel it like a low hum in your bones before any paper is signed, before any officer knocks, before any email lands. You may feel restless at night or hyper-aware of every sound, every message, every small shift in the people around you. But here's what you must understand. Shocking legal news does not automatically mean catastrophe. Sometimes the shock is that the universe steps in on your behalf in a way you never believed possible. Sometimes the twist is that what was working against you is suddenly brought to light and turned in your favor. The energy around you now is less about punishment and more about correction. Correction of imbalance, correction of lies, correction of stories that cast you as the villain when you were the one quietly telling the truth. That doesn't mean you can be careless. It means you are being invited to stand in your integrity, to be honest with yourself, and to let the scales of justice, both earthly and spiritual, recalibrate. If you have been clean with your intentions, if you have done your best to move in truth, even when no one was watching, then this twist is not an attack, it is an alignment. Imagine for a moment the archetypal cards of this season: the Tower, Justice, the Page of Swords, the High Priestess. The Tower is that sudden moment when what was unstable finally collapses, not to destroy you, but to stop you from living on a cracked foundation. Justice is the scale that never forgets, the law that may be delayed but never erased. The Page of Swords is the messenger, the phone call, the email, the paperwork, the person who says we need to talk about this. And the High Priestess is your inner knowing, the part of you that sensed the lie long before the world could prove it. This combination doesn't necessarily mean flashing lights outside your window. It can mean a landlord being investigated, a neighbor's secret finally exposed, a workplace being audited, a family situation being reviewed, an old legal matter being reopened, or bureaucratic news that impacts your finances, your home, or your security. The twist is that you're not the blind target in this story. You're the one whose spirit has been preparing you. Some of you are connected to someone whose choices have not been clean. Maybe you've watched a person cut corners, falsify something, hide income, manipulate documents, or misuse your name. Perhaps you've been uneasy about someone using your address, your account, your signature, or your reputation in ways that didn't sit right. You might not have proof. Scorpio often sees smoke before the world admits there's a fire, but you felt it. You saw the inconsistencies, the missing details, the way they changed the subject when you asked direct questions. The legal twist approaching may revolve around them, not you. Their actions may trigger an investigation, an inspection, a legal review, or a formal notice that unexpectedly passes through your world. That doesn't make you guilty by association, but it does make you responsible for how you respond. This is your time to step out of anyone's shadow. Do not let loyalty to someone else's chaos drag you into their karmic accounting. Others of you may be facing something with your own name on it, a thing you've postponed, avoided, or hoped would disappear. Immigration paperwork, unpaid fines, child support disagreements, divorce proceedings, business registrations, shared property disputes, or an old case you thought was closed. The shock may be that the system circles back, that a letter arrives, that a decision is finally made. If that happens, take a breath. You are not a helpless victim of bureaucracy. You are a soul being asked to bring order where there has been clutter. This twist can be the very thing that closes a chapter you've been stuck in for years. Instead of spiraling, choose presence. Read what's actually written, not what your fear imagines. Ask for help if you need professional guidance. Answer truthfully. Don't run. Avoid panicked choices. Avoid signing anything you don't understand, and avoid reacting out of shame. Shame is not your judge here. Clarity is. In these days, your greatest weapon is not aggression. It is awareness. Double-check your documents. Make sure your official information is correct. Clean up loose threads where you can. Update addresses. Respond to old notices. Gather receipts. Clarify agreements. These are not boring chores, they are spiritual armor. The more you stand in clarity, the less room there is for confusion or false accusation. If you've borrowed money, acknowledge it honestly. If you've made mistakes, own them directly and with humility. Life often goes much easier on those who step forward willingly than on those who scramble only after being cornered. You are allowed to grow beyond your past choices. You are allowed to step into a higher standard without hating who you once were. Legal energy around you is really asking one question. Are you willing to live in alignment with what you say you value? At the same time, protect your mind from spiraling into extremes. Not every letter is a disaster. Not every unknown number is a threat. Sometimes legal energy shows up as relief, an approval, a settlement, a clearance, a correction in your favor. You may be compensated for something you endured silently. You may receive notice that someone who wronged you is finally facing consequences. You may be given rights, recognition, or protection that you didn't have before. The twist you didn't see coming might actually be that heaven was taking notes while you thought nobody cared. And when you hear of justice being served, you will understand why your spirit was restless but your conscience was clean. You were being shown in advance that the vibration of truth was moving closer. As all this unfolds, your nervous system needs care. Shocking news, good or bad, still shocks the body. Soften your shoulders. Unclench your jaw. Exhale the weight that isn't yours. Reduce the content that feeds fear and paranoia. Choose music, words, and environments that remind you of who you are beyond any document. A soul learning, maturing, and becoming braver with each season. Drink water like you're rinsing anxiety from your cells. Take small walks to move static energy out of your system. Sleep when you can. Pray, meditate, or simply sit in silence and say, "Show me what I need to see, and protect me from what I don't." These simple acts are not side notes. They are how you keep your inner courtroom calm while the outer one rearranges itself. Spiritually, this legal twist is about more than external systems. It's about the law you've been carrying inside your own heart. Many Scorpios have been secretly holding themselves on trial for years, for past failures, broken relationships, things they regret but cannot undo. You've been prosecutor and judge replaying evidence, sentencing yourself to a lifetime of "I don't deserve better," or "I will always have to pay for this." The energy now is inviting you to appeal that inner verdict. You are not the same person you were when you made those choices. You have learned, suffered, matured, and expanded. If divine justice is moving in your life, it is not coming to crush you. It is coming to rewrite the story from one of endless punishment to one of restoration and responsibility. Yes, you may still have to face some consequences, but you do not have to face them as the broken version of you. You face them as the wiser, softer, stronger soul you are now. You are also being asked to release the fantasy of revenge. If someone harmed you, betrayed you, or lied on your name, legal and karmic energies may be circling them now. You might hear news that confirms everything you suspected. The temptation will be to gloat, to feel vindicated, to say, "I knew it." But that keeps you energetically tied to their storm. When news surfaces, allow yourself a moment of relief, then choose freedom. You don't need to watch every detail of their downfall. You don't need to comment on every update. Let justice do what justice does. Your role is to step out of the old story and into the new path that opens when you are no longer carrying the burden of proving you were right all along. Your peace is the loudest proof. In the days ahead, pay attention to symbols, sirens in the distance that make you pause, emails from institutions or agencies that you haven't heard from in a while, conversations about court cases, contracts, or laws that seem to appear everywhere you go. These are not always literal omens, but they are reminders that the world of form is shifting and that your life is part of that shift. When these signs show up, don't freeze, breathe. Say gently to yourself, "Whatever is coming, I will meet it in truth. I am not alone in this." Then return to what's in your actual control in that moment. Wash the dish, finish the task, make the call you've been avoiding. Presence is your anchor. If your heart is pounding as you listen, let's soften this together. Place your hand over your chest, Scorpio, and inhale slowly. Say quietly, "I choose truth over fear. I choose clarity over confusion. I choose alignment over panic." This does not magically erase whatever legal energy is moving around you, but it changes how you meet it. You are no longer a hunted animal. You are a conscious soul, co-creating the next chapter of your story with the divine, with your own choices, and with the systems of this world. Even when systems are flawed, your inner alignment gives you a strength that cannot be faked. Paper can be forged. Vibration cannot. Stay true. And now, as we close this message, let this part settle into the deepest layer of your being. What you've just heard is not a rigid sentence placed over your life, but more like a lantern held up along your path. This narrative is a mirror, a reflection of one possible frequency, a story whispered into the collective field for the Scorpios who feel it tug on something real within them. Think of it as a spiritual thought experiment, a sacred what-if that invites you to reflect, not a promise that dictates exactly what must unfold. If this message resonates with your intuition, if it wakes up a knowing you couldn't quite name before, then keep what feels true and use it as guidance to stand taller, live more honestly, and protect your energy with wisdom. If it doesn't fit your reality, let it move past you like a cloud crossing a wide sky, because not every storyline belongs to every soul. This is not legal advice, not a guarantee of events, but a gentle reminder of the power already within you, the power to meet any news, even shocking news, with clarity, courage, and a deep trust that you are held by both earthly law and a higher, quieter justice that sees far beyond any document or decision. If your spirit feels touched by this, claim your alignment in the comments. I trust divine justice and stand in my truth. Let that be your declaration. Like this video so it can reach more Scorpio souls who need this reassurance, and stay close to this space if you want ongoing guidance as you walk through these shifting days. You are not walking into this twist alone. You are walking with awareness, with protection, and with a universe that has been preparing your heart long before any letter, call, or knock arrives at your door.